Hey there, ever stop and really think about why your town or city is right where it is? I mean, why not a few miles over to the left? Well, that's exactly what settlement geography is all about. It's the story of why we live where we live. So let's jump right in. When you look at where people live, it's really a tale of two extremes. On one hand, you've got this, an incredible, dense jungle of buildings that seems to go on forever. And on the complete other end of the spectrum, you have this, a single house all by itself in the quiet countryside. They couldn't look more different, but you know what? They're both home. So that's the big question, right? How can these two wildly different places both fit under the same umbrella? What's the common thread that makes a place a settlement, whether it's home to a handful of people or 10 million? To figure that out, we have to start with the absolute basics. Before we can get into the exciting why and where, we have to get a solid handle on the what. And honestly, it's about as simple as it gets. A settlement is just a place where people live. That's it. It doesn't matter if it's a hut, a high-rise apartment, a tiny village, or a massive city. If people are living there, bam, you're looking at a settlement. This is pretty much the foundation for everything else we talk about in human geography. Okay, so if we want to dig a little deeper, we can break down any settlement by two key things. First up is size, and the range here is just huge, from a single isolated house all the way up to a megalopolis, which, by the way, is a cool term for when giant cities grow so much they basically merge into one giant urban area. The second thing is permanence, because, believe it or not all settlements are meant to last forever. A refugee camp is a powerful example of this. It's absolutely a settlement, people are living there, building communities, but it's designed from the start to be temporary. It's a response to a crisis, built on the hope that one day, everyone there will be able to move on to a permanent, safe home. All right, so we've got the what down. Now for the really fun part, figuring out why settlements pop up where they do. In geography, this whole idea boils down to two golden words, site and situation. You know that old real estate saying, location, location, location? Well, this is the geographer's version of that. So let's break this down because it's super important. Site is all about the ground beneath your feet. It's the actual piece of land the settlement is built on. Is it hilly? Is it swampy? Is there a river? It's all about the physical stuff. Now, situation is about the bigger picture. It's where that place is in relation to everything else. Is it near other towns? Is it on a major trade route? It's all about its connections to the wider world. Let's really get into site. I mean, try to put yourself in the shoes of the first people to settle an area. They were looking for some very specific things. Was there fresh water to drink? Was the soil good enough to grow food? Were there trees for building or rocks for tools? Could you even live with the climate? The land itself had to provide the basics for survival. And then there's situation, how a settlement relates to its surroundings. You might choose a wet point site right next to a river for water and transport. Or you might do the opposite and pick a dry point site on higher ground to make sure you don't get flooded. Maybe you'd choose a defensive site, like on top of a steep hill so you can see your enemies coming. Or maybe accessibility is key, so you build it at crossroads for trade. You see? A settlement success isn't just about the land it's on. It's about its place in the world. So all of these factors, site and situation, they lead to all these different kinds of settlements. And we tend to group them into two major categories that everyone knows, that great divide between rural and urban. I mean, we all kind of know the difference by feel, right? Rural settlements, think villages, they're usually smaller, more spread out with a lot of open land, and often focused on things like farming. Then you have urban settlements, your towns and cities. They're bigger, way more crowded, and are the hubs for business, shopping, and industry. But of course, just saying rural or urban is only scratching the surface. If you really want to think like a geographer, especially for those of you studying this, you need a more detailed set of tools to really analyze and classify them. And it's not as complicated as it sounds. To get really specific, geographers basically use a three-part checklist to understand what a settlement is all about. So here they are, the big three. First, you look at its size and complexity. Are we talking about a tiny little hamlet or a massive conurbation where different cities have all merged together? Second, you look at its pattern. Is it a linear settlement, all stretched out along a road or river? Or is it nucleated, all clustered together around a central point like a church or a market? And third, its function. What's its main purpose? Is it a port for shipping, a capital for government, or a resort town for tourism? So you might be wondering, okay, cool, but why does any of this actually matter? The thing is, this isn't just information for a geography test. Understanding why our towns and cities are where they are and how they work is really about understanding the blueprint of our world. It explains so much about history, about money, and about our own everyday lives. And that leaves us with one final big question to think about. As we look to the future and face huge challenges like climate change and growing populations, think about those two words, site and situation. How will the original land our cities were built on and their changing connections to the world determine our ability to create a future that's safe and sustainable? That's a question that geographers, and really all of us, are going to have to answer.